On Skype, Alex Newman, Brian Lubbock, Hillary Clinton. She makes me crazy. What does she do to you, Alex?
She's intriguing, and she actually makes me nervous. She's a very ruthless woman, I think, and she's made it quite far, which is, in my opinion, scary.
It's very scary. It's frightening as can be, and she does it so well in the press. They just eat it up. The left-wing mainstream press call it. I mean, she gets a lot of press. She's like a machine. She just kind of keeps on keeping on, and it is frightening. And where is she going with this? Will she get the nomination? I mean, the press says she already has it, more or less. If she gets a nomination, I guess that's only A, and then B is, will she get to be president? And then what about that first man that we would have? Well, help me here with all of this. It gives me great indigestion.
It looks like she does have the Democrat nomination in the bag already. There's not really any serious contenders in the Democrat Party other than her, and that's frightening in and of itself. As far as whether she'll win the presidency, that's hard to know, but I certainly hope not. I mean, the last thing we need is another Clinton in the White House. The first one was terrible enough, and the second one is probably going to be even worse. And if you listen to the things she's saying, I mean, the Democratic Party and her in particular have become so extreme and so detached from the constitutional foundations and really the foundations of this country that it's a sign of the decline of the United States, I think, that she's even made it this far and that she's even taken seriously.
It is amazing. I mean, she calls us all racists and bigots, and she just does so many things. Rich people are bad, and yet here she is. She's white, she's rich, she's all of the things that she's kind of saying aren't good things to have or to be. It gives me a headache every day when I read it, like gun control. She wants gun control. Just the other day, I think it was the day before yesterday, in Austria, a guy was in a car and he rammed into a whole bunch of people with the intent to hurt them and kill them, and he did kill 3 or 4. He injured 30 some odd, and I mean, crazy people do crazy things, but yet whenever somebody shoots somebody, she almost seems to like it. She embraces it. I mean, what's up with the gun thing and the Clintons? I mean, help me here. I'm having a hard time understanding all of this nonsense.
Well, they come from a totalitarian philosophical tradition where the government is, kind of in charge. She used to say, it takes a village to raise a child. This is collectivism 101, where you talk, even things like the private family are suddenly the responsibility of the collective. Now she's pushing the gun control, and just recently she was speaking to the UN, and she said, hey, we need to combat the religious attitudes and the cultural biases. She's talking about social engineering of the population. She's talking about gun control, all these things that fly in the face of the Constitution. The United States government was set up to protect our rights, not engineer us to be more agreeable to the wishes of the Clinton dynasty, and yet that's exactly what we're seeing, and the liberal media is just lapping it all up.
If in fact she became president, she would be just like Obama. When she gets sworn in, she breaks the law immediately and commits fraud, because she says, of course, then all presidents have to say that they'll uphold the Constitution. They go out and do different things. I mean, it's an amazing thing to me what goes on. And this religious thing now, I mean, Christians I think are bad, and who raised this woman? I mean, my understanding of her is that she was raised in a Republican family. She was a card-carrying Republican up until she was a middle teenager type. And then she met Wild Bill, and away she went from there. I mean, it's amazing how you can leave all of those values behind. I mean, particularly with this white and black thing. And now she's talking just the other day about, our first black president. In fact, he isn't. He's a mixed blood person, but she's bringing all of that up, playing the race card. I mean, typically white people don't play the race card, and she does that always. I mean, again, it's quite a story to see. But watching the Clintons, watching them kind of keep on, it is kind of interesting, because they're determined. They seem to have a lot of money and certainly a lot of followers and a lot of believers. I mean, do they orchestrate a lot of this? Are they their own self-promoters?
Well, I think the media manufactures a lot of it, and then the people see it on TV and they say, okay, well, if the media says she's popular and everybody loves her, I gotta love her too. But you mentioned an important point. She hammers on the rich and inequality. There's nothing wrong with people who get rich the honest way, producing goods and services that people want to buy. Now the Clinton family, that's something entirely different. These guys became millionaires in so-called public service. Since when are public servants supposed to be becoming millionaires on our dime? And then you have this Clinton Foundation and all the stench of corruption. This is just noxious in my view.
Oh, it's very obnoxious. And they do it all of the time. I mean, again, you're right. So many people go into office as regular people. They come out as multimillionaires. Again, is there something wrong with this? Do you think? What about all the dead bodies? Apparently, there's a lot of dead bodies around the Clintons. I mean, dozens and dozens of people either vanish or get killed. I mean, do you know anything about that side of the story?
I know that where there's smoke, there's fire, and I know that there's a lot of dead bodies around the Clintons, and somebody needs to investigate this, and we know that the media is not going to do it. But, I mean, this is really serious. We're talking about people who were killed, who were on the verge of exposing the Clintons for the frauds and the criminals that they are. This is really serious stuff that needs to be properly probed before we even think about letting this woman be in charge of our nuclear arsenal. That's just total lunacy.
Oh boy, that's a real frightening statement you just made there. Ooh, imagine her being in charge of the button. I can't imagine that. I mean, it's bad enough to have who we have now in charge of the button, but imagine Hillary there. Well, what would Bill's role be here in terms of influence? I mean, where is he in terms of her? I mean, I'm guessing that she's a lot further left wing than he, but he certainly is over there. What's your take on the mix of them? Are these two out to change the world? I mean, clearly, but are they in it together, or is she all alone? Or like, I'm having a hard time understanding that relationship, like so many of us are.
Well, I think they're kind of a team, and I think when they originally set out, they set out just to pursue power for the sake of power, and they understand now that all the rage and what all the establishment wants is collectivism and big government and big taxes, and so they said, okay, well, that's what we'll have to do if we want to have power. And that's how the Clintons strike me, actually. They're not, I don't think, ideological in the sense that you would get that impression from watching her on TV. They're just power-hungry, sleazy people, and they realize that this is the way to power in this society, within this paradigm that we exist in right now, with the collectivist establishment seeking more and more controls on our liberties. And I think that's where the Clintons are going with this.
Yeah, it's a pretty frightening thing. We can only hope that Americans come out of the ether. I guess another way to finish all of this would be, in terms of having elections, is we can make sure that a Bush marries a Clinton, and then you'll never have another election. We won't have to worry about it, right?
We could just have our dynasty for all eternity. Huh?
Oh, my. Anyway, nice talking to you as always, Alex. Thanks so much for your input, and God bless America. And I sure hope, of course, that Hillary doesn't get the nomination, and if she does, we can only hope and pray that she doesn't, in fact, end up being the president. That would be a tragedy. Hey, nice talking to you.
Thanks so much.
Okay, see ya.